This is the Pilot's News Briefing Podcast. I'm Frank Daniels. With me today is Matt Lamb on a Friday with the latest news in Moore County. And was it earlier this week, we're in a work session for the Board of Education?
Yeah, we talked at the turn of the year about a story that's going to have some legs, some longevity into the spring. Surprisingly, Superintendent Tim Locklear announced his retirement recently.
Right.
In the interim, Jenny Purvis is going to step in and fill that role in March through June. So the school board has been looking to liaise with a consulting group to assist in the superintendent search. It seemed all but sorted right before Christmas that they would contract with BWP Associates for those services. And earlier this week during a work session, the school board got together to ratify the contract with BWP Associates. But having had a little bit of a break, two school board members decided to kind of balk at the notion of using this consulting service. School board member David Hensley said, hey, we need to wait until after the November election. And he kind of had a two-pronged suggestion. It was one that Superintendent Jenny Purvis should get a little bit of time to see if she's worthy of that top job in its full capacity. However, I think the more salient point is Hensley hearkened to a potential ideological shift in the board's composition come November and said that could affect the type of superintendent who wants to work in the district. Pauline Bruno kind of expressed frustration with the entire nature of the relationship with BWP. She said it should be the school board's responsibility exclusively to vet and call prospective candidates, which that is the entire purpose of hiring a consulting firm. For the most part, you leverage professional and personal networks, and you develop a candidate pool, and you go through interviews, and they ultimately develop a short list, and then the board votes on that. So, we kind of got past the point of which we vetted all these different search firms, BWP Associates, McPherson and Jacobson. The North Carolina School Boards Association provides those services at kind of a discounted rate as well. Hazard Young and Ray and Associates, and they ended up going with BWP. And as it shakes out, they kind of tried to derail the process a little bit.
Those two school board members. Yeah,
correct. And I think the most poignant of the arguments is that there is an election coming up. And while school board member Hensley may want to give Ms. Purvis some time to prove that she has the chops for the head job, which I think she does an incredible job as it is, he's looking to a shift. We've got a stacked race full of school board candidates coming up, potential swing in 3 seats. And I think Mr. Hensley may have a bit of a vested interest in the outcome of that election. I think there is a situation where he is foreseeably the chair of the school board come November.
Mm-hmm. Given certain elections,
correct.
Right?
Correct. And so,
certain outcomes.
Of course, he said, well, we could save some money and we could give Purvis a crack at it. But I think that's the crux of it. And he made sure to say that the decision on a superintendent should not be ideologically driven, but he thinks that potential candidates will want to ensure that they ideologically align, in quotes, with the school board's direction. So, I think he's concerned that the candidate pool is potentially truncated based on where the school board is now and where the school board could be in November. And then again, Ms. Bruno, first she suggested that BWP and Associates should interview former CEOs and executives and retired military generals, and she kind of chided the nature of public education right now. I'll read this to you. I just think the way public education is going, with the scores nowhere near being very good, to think out of the box and bring in leadership that's different. That's not somebody that's come through the ranks of education. And then as far as what BWP's...
That was the end of the quote there. Yeah.
Okay. And as far as what BWP's processes and purpose are, she said, hey, this is our community. No one else should be able to nix a candidate other than us. But, BWP BWP president and executive director Kevin Castner made sure that the school board understood that they will have access to every single application. So while they will make a short list, if the board happens to see a candidate that's not in that pile and says, take a look at this fellow or this lady, they can get pulled back in. It's not as if there's any effort to obfuscate certain potential candidates. And then, on the other side of things, board member Steve Johnson said, "Hey, this is why we're hiring BWP. We're paying them $22,000 plus expenses. We're hiring them to do that work, to look at the candidates, and present a slate of recommended candidates. And ultimately, the school board is in charge of the process. BWP makes suggestions. They'll do interviews with community members and stakeholders and teachers and schools staff, but it's ultimately the choice of the school board, and they will have access to every single application." And then Board Chair Robin Calcutt echoed the importance of kind of getting on with it. There is an interesting time window where now, as some superintendents in different districts are considering moves, and there's a tight timeline. So she said, "Hey, if we don't get on with it and we don't get on with the process, we might be scraping the bottom of the barrel come time to sign a contract." So,
and as you say, I mean, the short of what I'm hearing is, the consultants are a tool that the school board can use because ultimately it's their decision. And Ms. Bruno's kind of thought about making that vetting all the candidates. It could be done through a tool, which is a consulting group. But if we don't get it done now, or if they don't get it done now, the people who are maybe the best candidates will find other job opportunities. Right.
And there's all kinds of NDAs, non-disclosure agreements, and there's concerns with leakage. If a potential candidate were to be floated and then leaked and had not told their former district that they were leaving, you stand to hurt the relationship with them currently, but also, you pull them out of the candidate pool for Moore County schools. So there's a lot of legal stuff to this, and I think that's why you hire a company like BWP
that has experience with all that,
right? And they've liaised directly with Board Attorney Richard Schwartz, and so I think that they're gonna find their way through all this. The school board, they ultimately voted 5-2 to affirm the contract with BWP. Okay. So they will be moving forward in short order and getting started.
All right. I mean, that's a lot. Of course, most of a lot of the stuff at the school board is dense because there's a lot of legal stuff that they deal with, or what, and it's a lot.
It's a lot.
But but thank you. And if you have questions, after reading Matt's story, you can send him an email to mlamb@thepilot.com. That's MLAMB@thepilot.com. If you have questions about what we do for the podcast, with the podcast, you can send those to me to frank@thepilot.com. That's frank@thepilot.com. And that's the latest news in Moore County.
Have a good weekend, Frank.
You too. Boom.